Okay, first off, we're not even dating. Second of all, I don't even like him. Third, he's probably running out of fuel soon, so God knows if he'll ever make it back here.
I'm back, bitches!
Test, test. Hey, look at that. Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. And as you can tell, two things became quite real over the course of the last week. Number one, I got extraordinarily familiar with my own equipment to the point where I can do things like, hey, repair the microphone without breaking the stream. And two, my contact solution may have expired somewhat, resulting in the cherry red eyes you see before you. So don't worry, your old pal Jake hasn't cracked into the weed just yet tonight. But the eyeballs, they're going to be red for a while. Because I popped in the contacts right before the stream and felt the fire of 1,000 suns. And, oh well, we're going to get through it. How are you? God, I missed you guys. It's been a hell of a week. Susan Clare, hello. Woodrow Smith, hello. Good to see ya. Kick it, says Wicked Foxy Dragon. It never helps, but it always makes me feel better. Fair. That's fair. Good to see y'all. Oi, Gavol. Yeah, we had a ton of tech issues, including hell for a millennial, having multiple days with just no internet. I was blowing off DVDs, trying to how-to things on my phone. No thank you. But the good news is we have a lot of stored up content to hand out. Today, however, is Friday Peace Talks, where we will look at content submitted by viewers, if you so please, and talk about what it is you guys want to talk about. So, to that end, I'm dropping in the chat right now the link. You can, there we go, pin that message. You can use that to drop off clips that you want to look at. And I'm going to get us started with one that, I've been, I want to talk about because it's pretty damn funny. It's Majority Report, of course. Not too terribly long ago, the Majority Report with Sam Cedar, Emma Vigeland, and the whole gang talked about the utter lack of progress on nailing Biden with anything. You see, for context, the right-wingers in the United States are just desperate to make it seem like Biden is a criminal. Now, why? Why specifically a criminal? Because they, in the past, they went after Democratic politicians for all sorts of things. They didn't need to restrict it to crime. Why are they pursuing that angle so vigorously now? Well, the answer is because Trump is a criminal. He's been indicted on multiple counts of just a plethora of crimes, most of them having to do in some way with obstructing justice. In civil court, he was found to have sexually assaulted a person. That's who Trump is, and that is apparently still going to be the leader of the Republican Party for the foreseeable future. And so, to make it seem like it's just all politicians, the Republican Party has been desperate to try to make Biden seem like a criminal. It's hard to do, though, because he's not. From what we can see, he's been on the straight and narrow. Also important to note, he hasn't had to be a criminal. Nepotism, sure. Plenty of that going around. Corruption, yeah, the legal kind, absolutely. Crime, no, sir. And yet, they said, Republicans in the House said, they had a whistleblower. Ooh, that was going to blow the whistle on Biden. Turns out it wasn't a whistleblower. As in, wasn't somebody blowing the whistle within an organization. Also turns out that person is themselves a criminal. Here's the Majority Report talking about it.
This is pretty fascinating, this in my mind. Here is Maria Bartiromo speaking with Speaker Kevin McCarthy about the Biden crime family investigation and the fact that the big Republican witness is a guy named Gal Luft. We talked about this yesterday, who's being...
He'll give you the breakdown on who Gal Luft is in a second, better than I can. I do want to say, we need to stop using that phrase. He just said it, Biden crime family. They're trying to get that going. Here's the Trump crime family. That's definitely a real thing. It's not a phrase that's used. It should be, though. We can't just call their investigation what they want to call it, because that accepts their framing. Even Sam's doing that sarcastically. He's doing that for an audience of lefties, most likely. Still, don't keep pushing that phrase. Don't repeat it. Personal thoughts, but let's listen to his breakdown here, because it is dead on.
Charged by the DOJ for all sorts of, I guess the official charges are acting as a unregistered foreign agent, but there's also like sanctions in terms of Iran. There's also illegal gun running type of situation. But understand something. Let's be clear. This guy was arrested in February. And then I think went on the lam. And somehow
he
skipped bail. And now they have formally charged him. So,
just to be clear, you remember when they were saying, "Oh, we got a whistleblower. He's gonna blow this whole thing out of the water." Yeah, that look Emma Vigeland has is the right attitude. Yeah, he's gonna blow this whole thing out of the water. Oh. Well, we can't find him. You know, the nature of his work is the nature of his criminal enterprise does mean sometimes you got to be on the lam. Good God. You know what's going to be hardest to explain to our children and our grandchildren and whatever future generations we are privileged to meet is how the hell these clowns gave us any trouble at all. I don't have an explanation. Honestly, truly, that's about half of my obsession with getting to know the MAGA types. And if you're a MAGA type that's joining today, welcome. I really want to know what you think of this. Because I truly believe future generations are going to wonder how these dingbats were a problem. I have no answer, but yes, the reason this guy suddenly wasn't available for statements was because he was running from the wall.
If you look at the timing, when, all of this talk about this witness we have comes up, there's one of two stories that could be going on here. One is that the DOJ said, oh, they've got Biden to rights in this congressional thing, this guy Gall Luft. We need to go out and pretend that we arrested him in February and then roll him up soon so that we can discredit this investigation. Or the other theory could be that the guy gets arrested and is like, how can I make this look like a political prosecution? I know. I have evidence that Joe Biden is in a crime family. But you decide, here is Maria Bartiromo.
But, Speaker, you keep getting stonewalled even so. Let's face it, Gal Luft was just indicted. Okay, this was one of your key whistleblowers. I want to get your take on what you're going to do about it, because how many more whistleblowers...
Pause it for 1 second. Incidentally, a whistleblower is someone who is within an organization and blows the whistle. This is just some guy who supposedly was involved in some type of deal.
Almost like that's being weaponized. That sort of terminology.
Yeah, exactly.
What? But, Speaker, you keep getting stonewalled even so. Let's face it.
I'm glad they played it from that point again. I want to talk about that term. Listen to what she says. You keep getting stonewalled. I just did Giuliani. You keep getting stonewalled, she says. That is supposed to play for two different audiences. For the majority of her audience, the word stonewalled is supposed to make it seem like Democrats are somehow blocking this. And for respectable news people, they're supposed to understand that it's like life is stonewalling McCarthy. In other words, it's supposed to seem like serious journalism to serious people. And to unserious people, it's supposed to seem like rah-rahing for her team. And both of them will meet at the water cooler, the serious crowd and the unserious crowd. And if they both saw this, then they will say, Maria Bartiromo really pushed Kevin McCarthy. And they'll nod and say yes and think they're talking about the same thing. That's just dishonest. And that is obviously intentional. And I think we need to demand that news media folks stop doing that. But obviously, it does not help us a tremendous amount to keep harping on why Fox is bad. This is one of 1,000 reasons why you should tell folks to stop watching Fox. Maria Bartiromo saying you keep getting stonewalled. When you find a clip like this that just encapsulates in a moment exactly what is wrong with this supposed news outlet. Really not a news outlet at all. Even Fox News is not news. It's just Republican propaganda. When you find that, hold it up for the person that needs to see it and tell them to stop watching Fox. If you're watching this program right now and you watch Fox, stop watching Fox. That is my advice to you. They are dishonest. Even if you are Republican through and through, then you shouldn't be afraid to be Republican and get your information from honest sources. Fox has demonstrated more times than any of us need to see by this point to make up our minds that they are dishonest. Yet again, case in point, Maria Bartiromo saying you keep getting stonewalled. But okay, let's listen to the rest of this clip.
Gal Luft was just indicted. Okay, this was one of your key whistleblowers. I want to get your take on what you're going to do about it, because how many more whistleblowers are going to come forward after knowing that this guy who tried to tell the FBI and the DOJ what he knew about the transactions, business deals in the Biden family, now he had to go on the run and now is getting indicted?
Well, Maria, if you look at what has transpired since we've taken the majority, we've
Doesn't
now
mention
found that
the
those
arrest,
51
incidentally, in
members
February.
that have been former CIA and others, we came forward and found that they lied. We now know where COVID originated from. Each day we make progress. It might not be as fast as everybody wants, but the one thing we will do is, as you know from me, I will never give up.
For the record, the United States government has come to the conclusion that among the least likely places that COVID originated from was a lab leak. Among the least likely places. Kevin McCarthy just lied to you. So now you know there's another person you don't need to listen to anymore.
On the American public. And we have new whistleblowers coming forward, and we're able to protect them. But what we're doing as we walk through is showing the truth, not playing politics with it, but showing the truth. And today we'll have Director Wray before us, and he's going to have a lot of questions to have to answer. At the same time,
they just cannot help outing themselves over and over and over again. Showing the truth. Not playing politics, but showing the truth. Okay, so the opposite of what McCarthy said is the actual case. Lying, playing politics, and lying. Gotcha.
we're moving our appropriation bills, that now we're able to save $2.1 trillion, something no Congress has been able to do before. We've got work requirements.
For the record, part of the way they saved that money is by reducing funding for the IRS, which tends to have a return, if I am recalling correctly, of 3 to 1, 6 to 1 for every dollar spent. So part of that money, they say, or McCarthy says that he saved us, is going to cost us in the future. Just for the record.
He had to go on the run. He just had to, you know?
I mean, they make it seem like they're running from the DOJ. Well, he is, because they arrested him in February.
But they are an extension of the Biden crime family, the same DOJ that didn't lock Hunter up for the gun and, what was it, gun charge for an unregistered handgun, Bradley? What was it? The charges against Hunter Biden? Yeah. Whatever, just
having a handgun and being an addict.
Yeah, it was tax evasion and then a diversion program for the firearm while having, you know, a drug charge against you.
Yeah, so you can't trust the DOJ.
It is amazing how desperate they are to, and by desperate I don't.
They're falling back to work requirements.
There seems to be so little there that they're really ignoring some key facts or not doing. I mean, it turns out, hey boss, it turns out, you know, that guy I thought was the key witness, he was arrested like months ago. I probably should have asked him, have you ever been charged with a crime?
Yeah, look into Lazaro, the guy who was digging deep into the Ilhan Omar married her brother thing, and then he got, I believe, arrested for sex trafficking.
Interesting.
It's hard to pass on a Sam interesting. Worth the dropped frame just to hear, interesting. I love the sarcasm. Yeah, great thing to highlight. from the Majority Report there. If we're talking pieces I think you should watch, anything by the Majority Report. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, hey, they are giving you the facts and they are upfront about their bias. I don't know what else you could ask for. What you should never, ever, ever poison your mind with is Fox. You can watch it for laughs. You can watch it to understand what the least informed people in the country are thinking. And that's not an insult, that's a statement of fact. You should never watch it for your news. Let me put a bow on those last 2 points. Studies have been done that have tested segments of the populace in this state and that state consistently. The people, and it was testing the populace on how much they know about the way government works, the way, what's happening in the world, the news. Consistently, people who said that they only watched Fox showed less understanding of world events than people who said they watched no news at all. You are more than wasting your time if you're watching Fox. You're undoing education if you're watching Fox. You are literally becoming less informed the more you watch Fox. You should understand that if you are a Fox viewer. I'm not trying to be hard on you personally. I'm trying to give you the facts. Friends don't always say nice things. People who are being friendly sometimes tell you things you don't want to hear, but you need to hear. You're watching Fox, you're less informed for it. And if you think that Joe Biden has secretly been a nefarious criminal, I would suggest to you that your news sources most likely are pretty dishonest. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. Wireless Mike, hello lurkers. Oh, the guy's got a lot of gall. I'll give him that, but that's all I'll give him. Yeah, fair. Woodrow Smith, Fox has rotted my elderly father's brain. I would be curious to know what your father would think of that statistic. Let me see this. Fox viewers less informed. Study. Scholarly articles. Ooh, I like that. Let me get a good one here. Oh, Business Insider. That's Business Insider is a pretty darn right-wing thing. There's the link. What the hell? Let's have fun with this. Let's take a moment. Oh, where did it go? My God. I may have just deleted it. Ah, there we are. Yeah, let's look at this together. Haven't even read this article, but I've seen this covered time and time again, and it blows my mind that Fox still exists after this. What the hell? We'll make it a whole segment. Well, we were just talking with the Wicked community, the folks who watch live, we refer to as the Wicked Senate. And we got a member saying that Fox has rotted their father's brain. And I hate to say this, but that story is true for millions and millions of Americans. Good news is, it doesn't say anything bad about your father. It says a lot bad about Fox. They are designed to do specifically that. Here is Business Insider, way back in 2012, warning us about this. Study: watching only Fox News makes you less informed than watching no news at all. Media outlets such as Fox News and MSNBC have a negative impact on, MSNBC, that's interesting, on people's current events knowledge, while NPR and Sunday morning political talk shows are the most informative sources of news, according to Fairleigh Dickinson University's newest Public Mind survey. Okay, researchers asked 1,185 random nationwide respondents what news sources they consumed the past week and asked them questions about events in the U.S. and abroad. On average, people correctly answered 1.6 out of 5 questions about domestic affairs. Because the aim of the study was to isolate the effects of each type of news source, they then controlled for variables such as other news sources, partisanship, education, and other demographic factors. They found that someone who watched only Fox News would be expected to answer 1.04 domestic questions correctly, compared to 1.22 for those who watched no news at all. Nothing at all. Those watching only The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, telling you when this came out, answered 1.42 questions correctly. And people who listened to only NPR or watched only Sunday morning political talk shows answered 1.51. Where's MSNBC? Okay, so to be clear, Business Insider misled quite a bit up top, contributing to the problem, because Fox News, worse than no news. MSNBC, according to this chart, better than no news. So there's only one place that's worse than no news, and that's Fox. But you know what? This was 2012. This is 2012. Let's see how much that has changed. Oh, gosh. In recent years. Oh my God. I just saw another article that I would very much like to look at, but it's a different subject. Let's look at this from NBC. Now, granted, anything they say about NBC, I'm going to assume is skewed favorably in their direction. But let's look at them talking about Fox. A new study suggests Fox News viewers aren't just manipulated and misinformed, they are literally being made ignorant by their consumption habits. Let's dwell a little bit. Let's wallow in this muck. The problem with Fox News, the cable TV channel, isn't just what it is, it's also what it isn't. It is a purveyor of propaganda and misinformation. It's not a source of news, at least not by any normal definition. That's one of the conclusions I drew from a fascinating new study in which yada 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 were paid to watch CNN for a month. The study, titled, The Manifold Effects of Partisan Media on Viewers' Beliefs and Attitudes, a field experiment with Fox News viewers, was performed by a pair of political scientists, David Brockman, who teaches at UC Berkeley, and Joshua Calla, who teaches at Yale. Christ, those are some credentials. According to Brockman and Calla, when these Fox viewers watched CNN, they heard about all sorts of things Fox wasn't telling them. They processed that information. They took it in. They became more knowledgeable about what was really going on in the United States. Son of a gun, look at that. The experiment didn't change their political preferences, certainly not in just 1 month, but it slightly altered their perceptions of certain key issues and political candidates. Okay. I don't want, because this is slightly off topic, so I don't want to go through this whole article, but you get the idea. Fox News misinforms. Hey, by the way, there is something that we designed right towards the beginning of this channel. I'm going to recommend again the unsubscribe challenge. Since we know this is a weakness Fox has, what I would recommend you do, if you have people in your life who watch Fox News, is challenge them to watch a little bit of Fox and you watch it with them. Make it a group activity. And a little bit of something else. And the first one of you, you time it. The first one of you to be able to fact check the news program, like they literally get a fact wrong, you win. And the other person has to stop watching their selected program for a week. Just a week. Easy peasy. Lots of other news channels. What's the point of that? Number one, even if you lose, even if you roll the dice and Ari Melber or Jake Tapper, God help us, misquotes a figure, and you're the one that's got to not watch that channel for a week. Oh well. It's not the end of the world for you. You like finding out when your sources, presumably, when you like finding out when your sources are incorrect. Good. But the other person has had to watch just a little bit of a differing opinion. That in and of itself is incredibly valuable. Also, you are almost certainly going to win the unsubscribe challenge, because you're generally doing it with folks that need to unsubscribe from the things that are lying to them. They're just straight up lying to them. So you might get a break from that. And this is where, at the very least, you will be able to demonstrate how often they are being lied to by their news sources. Consider doing the unsubscribe challenge with your father. Might be too much. It might be too much to undertake. Certainly, you would have an unfair advantage because your father's going to be less familiar with phones and fact-checking on the fly. But a version of it, putting your money where your mouth is, or at least critically watching things together, may be of use. Radical centrist. I have parents deep into it, too. I suppose that's why I'm so radicalized. Yes, good to see you, by the way. Zix says, on the other hand, I'm 70 and have never watched Fox News in my life. Thank God, Zix. You're a good egg. That's a hell of a good record for 70 years. Well done, sir. For those of you that have folks in your community, I'm going to go full high school English teacher. Hold on. Let's rap, gang. That was a whole lot for one bit. Look, what is a way that we could get some of these Fox watchers to stop watching Fox? It's not that I'm thinking we need to convert these folks for the sake of the election. No. We have our own election plans. They don't involve any serious effort to converting Trump voters to Biden voters. That ain't the plan. But we do have to deal with this. We cannot have a misinformation network just out there spreading disinformation. We cannot let this continue. We need to start chipping away at the Fox audience. Specifically, the Fox audience. Yeah, OAN's a bad network. Newsmax, awful. Yeah, Steven Crowder's basically a spouse-abusing nutjob. Alex Jones, full-on domestic terrorist. But Fox is a whole nother league. So we got to take it down. let's use the unsubscribe challenge as a jumping off point. The general idea being we turn something that was adversarial. You believe this, I believe this, and we turn it into a group activity, a bonding activity. Give me your thoughts while I readjust my chair. And the void. Just pull that void back. Truly, give me your thoughts here. What are ways we can do this with TV, for example? What are ways we can just sit down and have like news night? Like, here's an example. We watch 30 minutes of your program, 30 minutes of my program, or 15 and 15. Those of you with more experience in this, in dealing with MAGA folks, give me your thoughts. Domenico, yes, thank you. Thanks for acknowledging Jake as past that. You are even more past us than you know and feel. Friend love for you. Right back at you, my friend. Wireless Mike, the Daily Wire is clown. Yes, absolutely. Dawned on me, I can't watch more than 3 minutes of Fox. During those 3 minutes, I can probably call out 1 to 5 lies. Interesting. See, here's the thing. I think just one, calling out just one, is going to have a very powerful effect. Because you know they're going to keep hitting it. So going back and hitting it again and again and again, or rather, if when they go back and hit it again and again and again, person's going to remember that was a lie, and they are being lied to again and again and again. Ooh, dawned on me. There's a channel called Decoding Fox. It does a good job of showing fact from fiction. Well, this here happens to be Friday Peace Talks. So we're going to watch some Decoding Fox. Let's see how the experts do it. Ooh. Juliet Jeske, okay. Sorry, it's a bummer of a headline. Ugh, dawned on me. Breaking my heart. All right, let's. This is going to be a fun one, but let me do a proper setup for this. There we go. I usually forget that you guys can't see the same screen at the same time. I do. Oh. Right. Let me do the intro, and then we'll do this proper. Dawned on me suggests watching some Decoding Fox. What we've sort of stumbled into on this Friday Peace Talks is just talking about how we can talk with friends and family who are in the Fox rabbit hole. Needless words there. Who are in the foxhole about this channel. So, recommendation from Dawned on Me is for a channel called Decoding Fox. This is the first I'm seeing it. Let's have a gander.
Cities where everyone's defecating and shooting fentanyl.
Well, in Florida,
I haven't seen them in Florida.
Well,
show me the video.
At Mar-a-Lago, maybe not, but if you go outside Mar-a-Lago,
I have not seen
Jesse,
on our air ever a homeless encampment where everyone's crazy on drugs in the state of Florida.
Odds are, if it has the third highest homeless population in the country and it has good weather, that there are people living outside.
You're counting people in hammocks. You're not counting real homeless.
Real homeless? There's a pretty easy definition. Do they have a place that they can go to that is just theirs Actually, no, you can have, I guess, no, all right, roommates, fine. But do they have a place they can go to that is not public property? It's that simple. If the answer to that is no, if they can't go home at the end of the day, then they're homeless. I don't care if they found a hammock to sleep in. God forbid they have one iota of comfort in their lives. All right, let's let this gal decode Fox, for Christ's sake.
I will take this as an utter victory that he has gone to. These people are in hammocks.
It's an utter loss. I still have not seen a video of anyone homeless in Florida.
Well, someone in the control room, please find one, because they're definitely out there. Because it has the third highest.
Passed out tan people on the beach as homeless. Temporarily unconscious.
Yes. I'm embarrassed for you.
All right. New at 6 now, a look at a growing problem in Central Florida and the solutions to fix it. Right now, volunteers are out counting how many people are experiencing homelessness. New 6's Catherine Silver has a look at the need for permanent housing and the push to get results.
You can see it on the streets near Central Boulevard and Terry Avenue. Last year in Orange, Osceola, and Seminole counties, the total was up 7% from 2020, each number representing the real people, families, and children in need.
We're anticipating those numbers will go up some this year because of the escalating rent costs that have made housing unobtainable for more people, as well as the impact of the hurricanes, which took a lot of units offline. In the last
Just want to say, your old pal Jake helped pioneer the click-on thing you see every GD gray media station doing, although it was not my invention. It was invented by a guy named Dustin Block, who is a web genius. I don't know where he is now. He's no longer at Local 4, but good on you, Dustin Block. My former... He was my boss's boss. I don't know what that makes him to me. Guy that won't remember my name. Anyway, really, really effective job being done here by this channel, which I will now heartily recommend. Simply putting a Fox clip with the scum Jesse Waters. That certainly borders on an insult, but I feel it's an accurate descriptor. Next to some proper news. Excellent.
For years, when you compare us to the other 100 largest metropolitan areas, we've ranked 7th worst, we've ranked 3rd worst, we've ranked worst. This year we're tied for 2nd worst, meaning that we only have 18 units available for every 100 households.
And
really great suggestion. Well done. Well, that was supposed to be a little bit faster than that. Yeah, really great suggestion. I will be probably using more Decoding Fox. And for that matter, I might be stealing some of their style, because, ooh, that was really good. I noticed that Jesse Waters there, if you're sitting down, you're watching Fox, and you're doing this with a friend or a family member, you didn't need the other clip to jump on that. When one person was coming at Jesse with numbers, Jesse was deflecting. He was saying, you can't count this or that. That alone. It's a serious issue. Why can't he be serious about it? That's the question to ask. Like, look, this Jesse Waters guy enjoys kicking people when they're down. If you get a laugh out of kicking people who are down, you should do some soul searching. So if you find Jesse Waters at all funny, you should do some soul searching. I find him to be an obnoxious prep school bully's henchman. He wouldn't even have the courage to be the bully himself. He's the person who stands off to the side, slightly out of focus, going, "Hey, yeah, get him, Butch." That's Jesse Waters. How he is allowed to stand in front of a camera and say words for a living, I cannot fathom. But I will say that it speaks volumes about how low we have sunk as a society. We are going to raise that bar way up higher. Way higher. The great news is I've had a peek at these kids coming up behind me. They don't put up with this nonsense. So you and I, we got to keep things alive until these kids can come in here and be the cavalry. When that bar raises, it will go above the heads of people like Jesse Waters. And the benefit, really the payoff we're going to get for the work we're putting in now, is that we will never have to hear clowns like that again. Dawned on me, yeah, well, Jesse Waters is now going to be Tucker's replacement at the 8 p.m. slot. Yep. Mars Falcon, watching John Hughes movies growing up, I learned bullies are bad, but sometimes funny. Yeah, that's true. I think the technique... I've been fascinated by bullies in recent years. I think... here's just random thoughts, because it's Peace Talks. I think bullies are an advanced version of siblings. They're awful. Don't get me wrong. I am anti-bully. If there's anybody worth scrapping with, it is a bully. But the function they serve is as a adversary with training wheels. When you wrestle with your brothers and sisters growing up, it's so you can learn to scrap in a safe way. Because one day you may have to. I mean, that's like, in terms of evolution, that's why it's done. That's why puppies and little cubs and what have you tussle. A bully is that, but with hard feelings. They're not your friends. They are your enemies. And they pick on your weaknesses. And they hit you where it hurts. And the function is that you have your weaknesses called out by the time you're grown. There's better ways to do it. We should not permit bullying. But I do note that there is a function to that. There is a role served, even if it's served poorly and in the just the worst, frankly, possible way. The unfortunate thing is, because for so long we just culturally let people get away with being douchebags as long as they were good at something. If you could throw a football, you were like allowed to just assault other students, shove them in a locker or whatever. Crimes. And because of that, we have had generations of people growing up thinking, well, as long as I make enough money, as long as I'm pretty enough, as long as I'm on TV, as long as I work at Wall Street, then I can be an a-hole. Whatever we gained from allowing bullies to exist wasn't worth it. Zix, I had one fight in my life. I picked on a kid smaller than me and found myself looking up from the curb thinking I needed to find a better way to sort out differences. Hell yes, Zix. Good for you for having the balls to show us the other side of that story. Good. I'm glad you learned your lesson. I'm glad that you had the experience of a scrap and you learned the right thing from it. Next analyzation is that Jake is a Taurus. Main point, dear Jake will run with you for infinity. No lie. Oh, I wonder if I should tell you what my sign is. I would have to double check. That was in 2nd grade. Yeah, that's about, like, for people that are going to grow up mature, that's about the last time you should be in that stuff. Zix says, my big fear is that one day soon I'll have to go into assisted living. The well-meaning / underpaid caregivers will insist I join the community in the TV room, forcing me to watch Fox. Oh, God. I hope not. But, man, you're going to get a chance to F with some people's worldviews if that winds up being the case. I will say this. There has never been, I've truly had this thought a lot recently, there has never been a better age, like better era for assisted living. The amount of digital stuff available for relatively cheap. The delivery services available. Oh. That plus the occasional cruise, baby, you're living. All right, let's check that. Eli Crane on the house floor from Zix. Absolutely. Okay. We got a couple. Let's start with Representative Eli Crane on the House floor. You know I love some of those floor vidges. Oh, we're going to do the proper intro and everything. Oh, and it's a gloriously short clip, which means I will get more clicks. Them's the breaks with the old algorithm. All right, let's take a whack at this. Got a recommendation from Zix here. It's Representative Eli Crane on the House floor, kicking some butt. Let's have a look.
Well, Mr. Chairman, though that was unbelievably inspiring, my amendment has nothing to do with whether or not colored people or black people or anybody can serve, okay? It has nothing...
Oh, yep. Ooh, well, Eli Crane didn't take long to put his foot in his mouth. He missed the butt altogether. And put his foot directly into his mouth. Oh, I don't know how you recover from that one.
To do with color
Mr.
of your
Speaker.
skin, any of that stuff. What we want to preserve and maintain is the fact that our military has not become a social experiment. We want the best of the best. We want to have standards that guide who's in what unit, what they do. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, the North Koreans, they are not doing this because they want the strongest military possible. I hope my colleagues on the other side can understand what we're doing. Thank you so much.
Mr. Speaker, it's going to be recognized to have the words colored people.
For what purposes gentlelady seek recognition?
I'd like to be recognized to have the words colored people stricken from the record. I find it offensive and very inappropriate.
Is the gentlelady asking for unanimous consent to take down the words?
I am asking for unanimous consent to take down the words of referring to me or any of my colleagues as colored people.
Get him. Good Lord. Well, I thought we were gonna have Eli Crane going out on a proper tirade, you know? I thought he was gonna be ripping and tearing, and nope, he just he got started with some racism, accidentally let it slip, whoopsie daisy, and then had to wrap up and slink away. And folks, this is what Making America Great Again was all about. Are you happy? It's great again. Right back to the way it was in the 50s and the 60s. Ah, Jesus Christ. I mean, sorry to blaspheme. The thing that depresses me the most about that is that I'm not positive that it's the end of his political career. In a sane, functioning country, Eli Crane should apologize and then disappear. I mean, he should be gone already. When did that happen? Yesterday? 2 days ago? Whatever. The idea that by that afternoon he hadn't, resigned in shame tells you how far we've fallen. Nothing further to add. Good clip. That's who they are. And this is why I believe that the Republican Party, in my opinion, won't exist in 2026. It won't. They are forcing us to choose. Like, as a country, they're forcing us to finally answer the question after the Civil War. Are we going to keep putting up with this nonsense or not? Are we going to embrace this racist nonsense, or finally get rid of it? Ironically, they're sick of being in the closet. Well, I think I know how America is going to decide, and I think it will be depressingly close. But we've seen too much. We've lived too much of, reality of that. We've experienced too much of a society that is at least trying to be what America was promised to be. To go back. We really did see that, oh, look, black folks are just folks. Oh, look, gay folks are just folks. And yes, white folks are just folks. We're all just regular, kind of pathetic, but somewhat admirable as a species, human beings. So we're not going to go back to treating an entire group of us so cruelly, because these are now friends and family members. that you're talking about. We're integrated. A lot of folks don't like that, but it happened. And we're better for it, and sane people realize it. Eli Crane, goddamn. Domenico, 100,000 Americans, to put it lightly, in the wrong. Yeah. Yeah, Aaron Taylor. Then not talk about the historic increase of black homicide victims during that year. Interesting. Republican president in 2024, buddy. Oh, you think so? Interesting. Interesting. All right, Aaron Taylor's who we're talking to, and by the way, I've been busting the chops of Republicans quite hard, but I stand by what I said, if not how mean I was about it. But let's get to it. You think there is going to be a Republican president in 2024? I'm curious to know why. I'm not going to jump down your throat. It's peace talks. I genuinely, why is it you believe there's going to be a Republican president in 2024? And I'll tell you why I think there's going to be certainly the presidency will be a Democrat. There's the advantage an incumbent normally has. Just plain and simple, people don't like to change if they don't have to. Then there is the fact that the economy has recovered quite nicely. And there's the general stability. I think that people have a sense of the country being in safe hands with Joe Biden. Whereas with Trump, the vast majority of us felt that we were on a crazy train. It's just how it felt. Aaron Taylor says 574 BLM riots in 2020. Total of 9,913 black homicide victims, increase of 2,429. So if you're talking about an increase of black homicide victims in 2020, 2020 is when Trump was president. But you said 574 BLM riots. I don't recall there being... I think there was one riot that I'm aware of. Oh, God. The National Police Association called investigation into... Whoa. 574 BLM protests. I'm not... Let's see here. Oh, I got something. Okay, so made somewhat nervous here by the source, National Police Association. But all right, let's have a look. A new national telephone and online survey taken by Rasmussen Reports, sponsored by the National Police Association, finds that 66% of likely U.S. voters think Congress should investigate the violent riots that engulfed the United States in 2020. 21% say no, 13 are not sure. Additionally, the poll found a majority of likely voters believe Congress should award medals to law enforcement agencies that defended their cities from violent looters and rioters. Good Lord. Well, let me just jump back here. I was in the Black Lives Matter protests. There were no riots. Not in the many I went to. There weren't even all that many police present. I saw a few. I was in Detroit. I was in Ann Arbor. I was in Taylor, Michigan. Lansing was in the one I attended. I did not see riots. And Aaron Taylor, I'm wondering, are you counting all protests as riots then? Aaron Taylor, no riots and a laughing emoji. I mean, some were certainly some devolved into riots for sure. But yeah, I'm with radical centrists. How are you defining BLM riot? It's sort of like how I notice a lot of, or I've had pointed out that a lot of times when people are talking about transgender people, they call them transgender activists. And they add that little spin there, and it's an intentional skewing of the truth. Kenosha, Portland, Seattle. Kenosha, I certainly understand. Portland, Seattle, D.C. That's 4. That's certainly, if we take those as granted as those being a riot, that is definitely 4. 574 is an awfully big number, is all I'm saying. And that PR Newswire thing we were reading, which is, by the way, just a press release outlet. The language in that was awfully inflammatory for news. Let's look at the Washington Post. This is a news organization, which is required. Washington. Oh, well, I cannot. I've used my free articles. How about this? Were the BLM protests violent? Okay, let's see. This is from ACLED. They data collect. Oh, you know what? Let's do. Let me ask you this. We can do Time Magazine. We can do ACLED. Or we can do the Christian Science Monitor. Which would you prefer? Let's walk through this together. I think this is a useful thing. So Aaron Taylor, which would you prefer for the news source? Time Magazine, Christian Science Monitor, or ACLED? Let me know. Oh, I'm getting lots of ads from Christian Science Monitor. All right, dawned on me. You have a good one. Tell you what, let's go with Time Magazine. Unless you have a different preference, let me know. The vast majority of... may as well put this up here. Do a little visual stuff here. Hey, how about that? Let's look here. 93% of Black Lives Matter protests have been peaceful, new report finds. The vast majority of Black Lives Matter protests, more than 93%, have been peaceful. This was in September 5th of 2020, according to a new report published Thursday by a nonprofit that researches political violence and protests across the world. The Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, ACLED, analyzed more than 7,750 Black Lives Matter demonstrations in all 50 states and Washington, D.C. that took place in the wake of George Floyd's death between May 26 and August 22nd. Their reports state that more than 2,400 locations reported peaceful protests, with fewer than 220 reported violent demonstrations. The authors define violent demonstrations as including acts targeting other individuals, property, businesses, other rioting groups, or armed actors. Their definition includes anything from fighting back against police to vandalism, property destruction, looting, road blocking using barricades, burning tires, or other materials. Yeah, you see, that's already a pretty broad definition of violence. Even blocking a road momentarily is considered violence. With thousands, listen to me now, thousands of protests across the country. About what? About people getting murdered by police. It is damned admirable that so few of them turn to violence. I have yet, by the way, to even hit you with the big guns, which is a hell of a lot of far-right extremist instigators would go to these protests to try to stir up trouble. When you total that in, it does not surprise me that there were some that turned violent. Sure, big crowd of people real angry about something they ought to be angry about. But you have to acknowledge that the vast majority, let me repeat it for you, 93% of them, nonviolent. Let's see if you've dealt with that. LMAO, the denialism. Well, you're right on the cusp. Look at the actual study with the numbers. Okay, we were reading about the ACLED study, but yeah. Here's the data right here. Actual study with the numbers coming up for you. Let's jump in there. All right, here it is from ACLED. Demonstration and political violence in America. New data for summer 2020. Political violence demonstrations. Okay, Black Lives Matter. Racism and police violence. The long-standing crisis of police violence and structural racism in America hit a new flashpoint this year. George Floyd murdered. And by the way, he was absolutely murdered. Derek Chauvin was convicted. All right, let's get to those numbers. Number of demonstrations associated with Black Lives Matter. Okay. And overwhelmingly, let me stress that for you, an overwhelmingly peaceful movement. The vast majority of demonstration events associated with the Black Lives Matter movement are nonviolent. See the map below. In more than 93% of all demonstrations connected to the movement, demonstrators have not engaged in violence or destructive activity. Peaceful protests are reported in over 2,400 distinct locations around the country. Violent demonstrations, meanwhile, have been limited to fewer than 220 locations, under 10% of the areas that experienced peaceful protests. Now, that was in September of 2020. It's entirely possible that there was 354 violent Black Lives Matter protests between September of 2020 and January. I would point out that if you look at the graph here, whoopsie daisy. If you look at the graph they're showing, I'm sorry I didn't show this earlier. Looks like the protests in general were petering off, so I doubt it. But it's possible. But even if that were the case, that would take it down to, what, 86%? 87%? Being peaceful protests. All right, now I got a question for you. We've gone with you for a while here, Mr. Taylor. Here is my question. Why is it that you want to believe that the Black Lives Matter protests were a bunch of riots? Why is it you want to believe that? Toss it in the comments. No, there's not going to be too harsh with you here because it's peace talks. We want to make peace. But look, I'll tell you, I want to believe that the Black Lives Matter protests were peaceful. It's true. I do want to believe that. Why? Because I was part of them. Because I believe what they were protesting for. I believe in it. I have this crazy idea. I know it's wild, but a crazy idea that you shouldn't be terrified to call the police if your skin is dark. I think that's a silly thing that we harass people over in the United States. I think it's what weak people tend to need. And I think they drag other people down with them. Like, I think it's weak politicians that don't have any real plan for how to help you. And so they put their effort into dragging you down and convincing you that these folks are somehow causing your problems. Don't be as weak as the politicians that got to trick you to get a vote. Be stronger than them. Why, Aaron Taylor, do you want to believe these protests were violent? That is my question. Mars Falcon, Aaron Taylor, go back. Oh, yes. Go back. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the Andor talk. Kenosha being burned, says Aaron Taylor. A kid attacked by 3 violent criminals with records, he says. I'd like it if you answer the question, though. Why do you want to believe? I mean, you've looked at the numbers now. You just saw 93%. No, don't keep changing the subject. You just saw the numbers. 93% of these protests, of which there were thousands, were perfectly peaceful. Why do you want to believe that they were not? You're looking for segmented, individualized instances. But it's important that we get to the core of this, which is that because I watched it live on a daily basis. So what I'm hearing there is that you want to believe that what you were being told was true. That's important. And everybody else, I appreciate you, but let's just me and Aaron talking for a while. Let's not gang up on him. Just the two of us. You watched it live on a daily basis, so you want to believe you weren't being lied to. But we just saw a study. No. Aaron Taylor, I'm asking other folks not to interrupt. Don't get distracted either. Just you and me. So you watched it on live streams. Yeah, I believe it. But it's the same basic thing. Was the algorithm just showing you what you wanted to see? You've now looked at a study. We have AC LED data right here. Here's the link. 93%. Perfectly peaceful. I was in them. I have firsthand knowledge. I think 5 I was in. Perfectly peaceful. Aaron Taylor, not Tucker Carlson, citizen journalist. Understandable where you're going with that. But conversely, were those citizen journalists out there trying to show you people just peacefully marching, or were they there trying to show you something that would get clicks? I didn't watch the same things. So maybe they did just happen to catch things. But we have the data now. And we know the reality of it. You can look at it there for yourself if you want, but I would just encourage you to consider that you seem to come into this conversation being of the belief that these were a bunch of riots. And now you can see that 9 out of 10 of them were not. So I would ask you to think about this. What brings out so many people to the streets? What is such a serious problem that it does cause some people to riot, and it does cause other people to just march, to give up their Saturday, to give up their Friday? I think it's important. And consider the fact that you might be watching news programs that are, or you might be getting your news from programs that are misleading. Ooh. Folks, we've got great suggestions here. But I do want to, because we just did some kind of heavy stuff. I want to do one from Susan Clare. First of all, Susan, thank you for joining us tonight. Delighted to have some relatively new faces here. Second, let's talk about UFOs. Aaron Taylor, I appreciate you being a good sport. We disagree, but you had the guts to talk it out, and that's worthy of note. On this Friday Peace Talks, we will be respectful of that. I will ask everyone, difficult though it will be, to just move on. I think we've made a little bit of progress, and we'll undo it. We push too hard either way. Aaron Taylor, I congratulate you for having the guts to stick it out. Let's talk about aliens. Got a suggestion here from Susan Clare, and I'm just champing at the bit to have a gander. Apparently, Chuck Schumer has introduced a new bill to declassify UFO-related government records.
More legislative measures are being put forth that would put classified UFO-related records in the government's possession. According to the New York Times, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is backing legislation that would create a commission with broad authority to declassify documents about unidentified aerial phenomenon and other extraterrestrial matters.
Schumer is expected to introduce an amendment to the annual defense bill, and so far lawmakers on both sides of the aisle appear poised to support measures of this kind. Here to discuss the growing interest in Congress about uncovering what could be hovering in our skies is Mark von Reinenkampf, opinion contributor for The Hill. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, Mark, so where's the alien,
like,
man? I'm sorry, Jess. We got to let him pull out the alien.
Yes.
You want me to pull out an alien right now? Ooh, I wish I could. But sure, Michael, I'm going to have to punt to Congress for that.
Go ahead, Jess.
Right, yeah. It seems that a lot of folks have put the alien question in the camp of it's a matter of national security. And I'm in the camp of it's a matter of human curiosity and human interest. It exceeds just one nation's borders. So this seems like a step in the right direction. What do you make of these recent moves by Congress?
They're extraordinary, and to answer your question, Jessica, I think they can be both. They can be matters of human curiosity.
No, it's okay. I'll take this one, Honky. Look, I think it's silly. It is a bit silly. First of all, it's important to note, though, UFO does not mean alien. There's a reason that term is used and has been used, and I think they're even updating it now to be even more accurate. It's an unidentified object. If we knew it was an alien, boy, it sure would be identified. It has the practical benefit of making it less weird for people to call these things in, possibly because we want civilians to be on the lookout, including civilian pilots, or aircraft we're not used to seeing because maybe we suspect they are there. Likely what we're talking about is another country's spy, whatever. A drone that does this, that, or the other thing. Okay. I'm glad that they're doing this not for that reason, though. I'm glad that Chuck Schumer is introducing this bill. I'm glad that Chuck Schumer is introducing this bill. I'm glad that it seems to have, generally speaking, bipartisan support. Nobody can think of a reason why they want to make a big stink over this. Simply because it normalizes making less things classified. We over-classify the hell out of everything. My understanding is that it's basically so that bureaucrats can get away with doing a half-assed job most of the time and not have to answer questions about it. Good. I like the idea of Chuck Schumer tying in defense funding with requirement that the government spill a little bit. Tell us what the hell this stuff is. And I'm looking forward to a bunch of really fun document releases All right, let's hear whatever this guy has to say.
And national security. But I want to maybe step back from the aliens and the little green men and make maybe 2 points. What we're seeing now is remarkable bipartisanship. Again, we can separate all the talk of UFOs and aliens. We are seeing extraordinary bipartisanship on a topic. I don't know if you guys can think of another topic that has pulled together the various strains of American politics, from Make America Great Republicans to more moderate Republicans like Rubio, and then Democrats like Senator Schumer.
I do think to some degree, yeah, they are just happy to have something they don't have to fight about. That's fun. That's fun.
Senator Gillibrand, Harry Reid before he passed away. So remarkable bipartisanship. And then secondly, I just want to quickly comment on the extraordinary nature of the language that we've seen in this legislation, both the pending right now and last year and the previous years. I'm of the opinion that Congress will not put language about potential reverse engineering of UFOs into federal law without some good basis and some solid grounding to include such extraordinary language.
I mean, Mark, what do you make of some of the whistleblower testimony reports that we've seen? We've covered this here. A former Air Force pilot saying that there is something out there. We've seen some reports of individuals who worked for a secret organization within the Pentagon that have argued we actually do have these aliens and we do have these spacecraft. I mean,
Just a side note, nonsense. Absolute nonsense. No, we do not. The American government, love it or hate it, you got to admit this here is fact, cannot keep a secret to save its soul. We did not find aliens. It is too interesting. I'm sorry. I want it to be true. I can't stand the Fermi paradox. I tell you, I look at John Michael Gauthier videos at least once a week. I desperately want there to be aliens, and I want them to be advanced enough to have reached us, either in a colony ship or by somehow figuring out faster than light travel, whatever. Didn't happen. I'm so sorry. But it would be interesting.
Is there any legitimacy to what we're hearing? Because a lot of people are following this stuff and are starting to think, well, wait a minute here, is the government keeping something from us?
That's $1 million question, Michael. I got to say, I think everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt and skeptically. But when you start putting together all of the data points and you take an analytic perspective, things get really interesting. Because yes, and I've talked to some of those former Navy pilots who observe via radar or visually objects off the U.S. East Coast on a daily basis. Senator Rubio said this pretty clearly. I don't see how you go from a squadron commander or a wing commander to just suddenly making stuff up about extraordinary events.
The same way a non-squadron commander does. You get bored. Now, to be clear, I don't want to accuse this person of lying. Maybe they did see a thing, this, that, or the other thing. Again, I fall back to unidentified object. Not the same as an alien. Want it to be. Ooh, I want it to be. I just don't think it is. That said, it's probably time to declassify these things, right? I'm going to look at what you guys are saying while we keep this playing.
To the whistleblowers and the others who have spoken, again, their claims are extraordinary, but when you start listening to what the legislators and the lawmakers who have actually either spoken with these individuals or been briefed on what they've said, they all say, and I just saw this yesterday, Mike Gallagher, a very broadly respected Republican, said, these claims should be taken seriously, and not just because of the credibility of the individual.
Oh man, hold on. Neil Mick, is the government keeping something from? I'm misquoting already. Neil Mick saying, is the government keeping something from us? This is the U.S. government. All right, fair enough. Zix, and is the secret proof of aliens what Orange is really trying to hang on to? Oh, Oh my God, I would love that. I would love that so much. Tamara Chan, Sylvester Stallone is obviously from outer space. Well, that we knew. Don't get me started on Chuck Norris. Wireless Mike, any advanced enough life that could reach us would be smart enough to avoid us like the plague. Honestly, truly, there is some truth to that. Like, if we were capable of reaching another planet, all right, we'll talk aliens for a second. You know those tribes in South America that are uncontacted? There's rules against us, like you and me driving down there and saying hello, because we carry with us a worldwide petri dish of diseases that they are not prepared for. And we would probably, accidentally, cause the destruction of the entire tribe just by showing up and breathing. Similarly, there is almost nothing we could offer aliens. Water? Precious water on planet Earth? Nope. There's whole bands of comets, which just frozen, it's just ice floating out there that they could grab up if they wanted basically infinite water. Fill in the blank with anything. There is literally a planet made out of diamonds out there. It's just a gigantic diamond, the planet. There's nothing we have that they would need to come here specifically to take. That the technology needed to come here would not absolutely negate. As in, they could just go to a bunch of other places and collect it and whatever. So, if aliens showed up, it would probably be to study us from afar. And just like we can study meerkats on the savannah with a satellite, if we wanted to make sure we weren't seen, they would most likely have ways of studying us without us ever knowing. That said, hey, things go wrong all the time. So maybe.
Individuals that are making the claims, but also because in Grush's case, the key whistleblower, he's represented by a former inspector general of the intelligence community. That is, he was an Obama-appointed, Senate-confirmed, high-profile lawyer. So these are not, these are not individuals that would back up extraordinary claims if there were not something to them.
What do you make of this commission coming out of Congress to have the authority to declassify these documents? Because I can see a world where someone doesn't believe that they have the knowledge necessary to fully understand the security concerns, especially understanding that a lot of UAPs could just be, spacecraft that's human in form. It could be, spacecraft that's non-alien run. It could be, maybe Russia or China, as we've reported on here.
Truly, to me, that's what's more interesting. I promise you, there are experimental drones out there that are being tested left and right, simply because it's cheaper. Not because it's more effective, not because it's any of the cool stuff. It's just cheaper to use a drone as opposed to something that is required to have enough engine capacity to carry a human being along with it as well. So I'm real curious about that. You could have shapes and patterns of movement that, I want to crack into. What really interests me about all this, and I would encourage you to listen for the opportunities in the rest of this video, is finding out how our government deals with the unknown. That's what I want to see from these documents. I almost called them leaks. They wouldn't be leaks. They would just be released. From unclassifying these UA unexplained aerial phenomenon. I want to find out what our government does about the unknown. My suspicion is that we document it and then do nothing. No studies, no attempts to recreate with technology that we have. No investigation whatsoever. Simply, it's documented and forgotten about. That would disappoint me the most, and it is also and yet it's what I expect.
Creating some of the alien spacecraft that they have grounded in their airspace. It sounds like the whistleblowers are saying we have just over a dozen having landed in the United States or in the position of the U.S. military. So what does this mean, really, having Congress holding the keys to what information is made public?
Great question, Jessica, and I hate to disappoint you, but I have not read the actual language of this legislation yet. But from my understanding,
disappointing.
From folks that I've spoken with who have the kind of some inside baseball on this, it is remarkably comprehensive. It's detailed. So I'm going to punt a little bit. I'd like to see what the actual legislation says, but to the best of my understanding, it's modeled on a 1992 law to kind of bring forward all of the records associated with the JFK assassination, which is it's a landmark piece of
great suggestion, Foxy.
I think it's extraordinary. It's a remarkable step to see Senator Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, get involved. So I'm going to punt a little bit, but I'm curious to see what that language actually looks like.
Merrick, let me ask you this question. Republican Congressman Tim Burchett out of Tennessee recently stated he had an opportunity to look at the classified UFO footage, and he said it's real and there is definitely something out there. Are we prepared for whatever this thing is or these things are? I mean, how serious are our lawmakers taking this? How serious is the military apparatus taking this?
Okay. That's a more dramatically phrased version of, are they actually following up on this? To be clear, I don't think they have an obligation to sound the alarm and put all hands on deck, because most likely, as we've discovered through actual investigations going way back, it ends up being, a weather balloon or a malfunctioning lens on a camera, etc., etc., etc. But sometimes it's a hobbyist with a drone.
I think lawmakers are remarkably serious, and we can see that in the language that we've seen over the last couple of years. The bipartisan language has been, again, extraordinary. We're talking about multiple dozens of pages of federal law devoted to this. So I think lawmakers are extremely serious. I think elements of the government are kicking and screaming, and they're resisting this. I don't know if maybe that's nefarious. I worked in the government, and the vast majority of people that I worked with were good folks that have the best interest of the country and national security at heart.
But they do like covering their butts, and they don't like making a habit of unclassifying anything.
And there's certainly, I know there are individuals in the government that are curious about this topic. So it's a mixed bag on how the government is treating this. It's not a monolithic institution, but I can tell you with certainty that Congress is dead serious about understanding this and getting to the bottom of whatever this is.
With these whistleblowers in both the military and intelligence community speaking out about UFOs or UAPs, you've done a lot of reporting on what they have said. What do you think the response from the public is generally like? Are people ready to know about potential extraterrestrials interacting with people on Earth or even visiting Earth?
So that is the $1 million question, and to be honest, I don't think I'm qualified to answer that question. I can talk to pilots, I can report on what Congress is saying. I think that's a deeper philosophical question that I guess I'll answer it this way. Let's see how the next few weeks go in terms of hearings. Let's see what the congressional language that Senator Schumer, when he releases it, when it comes out, let's see where this all goes, and maybe we could have that discussion in a month or two, in a year from now. Let's let the process play out, and it's a great.
Okay, so to recap, Schumer's tying military spending to the release of documents regarding the United States government's interactions with unidentified flying objects, now to be called unidentified aerial phenomenon. Exposing what these things, or rather expanding what these things could be with that change of term. Good. Do I think we are going to find out that aliens are real? Or rather, aliens have visited us? No. Number one, because we just can't keep a secret. I mean, we really can't in the U.S. government. Number two, Trump was president. I'm sorry. I know at least one person watching probably was a big fan of his. That guy has a pathologic inability to keep his mouth shut about state secrets. If there were aliens, he would have blabbed. But I do think it's going... Number one, for the boring but important stuff, it's good for us to make a habit of declassifying things. I think this is a great symbolic declassifying to have happen. It's like one of the most stereotypical government classified documents. Oh, this is about aliens, so hush hush. Why? Why? I'm glad that this is, and it's something we're all curious about. Come on, of course. We should know. If we actually did hang out with aliens, we should know. So I'm glad that it's setting a precedent here. Good. It's normalizing this as a demand. Declassify this, that, the other thing. I think it will reveal to us, maybe not the existence of aliens, but it will reveal to us how our government, if you live in the U.S., handles these sorts of situations. How proactive are they? How much do they look into these things? That will be good to know. And to a lesser degree, I do think we might further science a little bit. We might notice a pattern. The civilian hobbyists who, as the years go on, I just put more and more faith in, they might notice something that everybody who's working a 9-to-5 for the government missed. Simply because they don't have any particular goal. They're able just to look at the footage, look at the documents, and pursue what interests them, as opposed to a stated goal. Find us where the Ruskies were in this. Find us where China was in this piece of lint on a lens. Well, they might find out that, well, it turns out that at X many thousand feet, the lenses on in these surveillance planes that we use fog. It could be something as simple as that, or it could be something fascinating. I don't know. I do think it's going to be damned interesting to read through, and I can't wait. Great suggestion, Wicked Foxy Dragon. Thank you for that. Wireless mic. Oh, you read that. Radicals. Oh, just jumped down. Cyberspace case. Oh, yes, a distraction and a waste of time that could be used on meaningful issues at hand. Yeah, I don't mind random declassifying demands, though. Aaron Taylor, our prime minister said during public testimony that the public should see a police strategy for Ottawa protests, 68 pages of redaction from his government, just the title and headers declassified. Interesting. Deborah Kempthorne, I've really wondered why now is the time all this is being discussed in the government. Is it a distraction, or... And then we have some agreement that it is a distraction. I don't think, believe it or not, I don't think it's meant to be a distraction. There are a lot of things that really are just a distraction in our government. A lot of the Supreme Court cases, believe it or not, are taken up simply to distract from other Supreme Court cases. They don't really need to be aired out in the Supreme Court. You know, when people are complaining about M&Ms, that's a distraction. When people are, I'm trying to think of a notable lefty distraction. It's not done as much on the left. We got a lot of issues we got to work out. But I do think this is probably being used more for political purposes than practical ones. Yes. I think the core of your suspicion is correct. But I don't think it's nefarious. I don't think it's meant to deceive us in any way. I think, number one, they're probably doing it, or Schumer is probably pursuing this because it's just something he knows he can get bipartisan support for. And he wants to say, hey, look, we work together on this thing. Trying to make friends. But also, whether or not it's intended, it has the value of normalizing declassifying stuff. And if you're not from the United States, let me clue you in onto part of the way that this super corrupt government operates. There is way too much that is classified. There is almost nothing structurally that prevents somebody from classifying a government document, just deciding it's classified. If you have in other words, if you have the ability to classify things, you can pretty much do it at whim. And it's very rarely questioned. I'm talking about in terms of, like, practically. Will anybody stop you? Will anybody object? No, is the answer. Hopefully, we find that a bunch of things that didn't need to be classified did get classified, and that opens up a larger conversation into maybe we shouldn't be doing that. But y'all, sorry I was gone for so long. The good news is whatever they fixed seems to have fixed the internet right and proper. I got some decent upload speeds. My word. Loving it. We will be back tomorrow for Salty Saturday. Now, fair warning. This is Friday Peace Talks. We're a hell of a lot more gentle. We're a hell of a lot more kind. Salty Saturday, your old pal Jake is just a big old batch. You're allowed to be salty. So it will be a very salty version of your old pal here. I hope, however, I will see you then. I hope you enjoyed tonight. If you did, consider giving us a like. Lordy knows that is appreciated. And a subscribe if you haven't already, so we can hang out again. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. I'll see you next time. And Zoe's a good girl.